Alright, so I just figured real quick I would make another video on oil pumps in themselves. There's a lot to know on this, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong over the years, and some people maybe you've got low oil pressure in your motor, and this might explain some of that. And maybe sometimes it's just after you put another oil pump in it and it still has low oil pressure, or you have an engine and all of a sudden it loses oil pressure, or you're building your engine and you want to know a little bit about the way that we do it. And again, this is the way we do it, and you can do whatever you want to do, but again, you do it, of course, do this stuff at your own risk, because there's so many variables in here. It's so hard to explain all these different variables that happen. So if you're doing something called full flow in your case, what we like to do is because there'll be back pressure here coming back into here, and sometimes that can go into leak off here and cause an issue. What we do is we'll actually tap this hole and put a plug similar to this one, like this. I'm just going to show you what this one looks like so you can see. We'll put a plug, but a 1/4 inch plug, 1/4 inch pipe thread, and we'll put a 1/4 inch pipe plug all the way in so it's past this circle, this circumference here. So it'll be up in there and you can't see it, so that the oil won't want to return into the pump. So, because it'll kind of go right in back into this hole here. So that's what we do when we full flow the case. We put a plug there and then take this one out and then put a fitting on here. And then what will happen is, let me show you what that looks like. It has a single outlet out of here on the front of the face of the front of the pump. Your front of your pump normally is just a blank, and see, this one has a fitting set up on it, and so this will go out. This will pump oil out through the cooler, and it comes back and returns through this line right here, and then from here it goes through your oil cooler on your engine. So that's a full flow system. That's where you have an oil cooler like that, in addition to another oil cooler like this one here, in addition to that. So we have two oil coolers on this one, and then you'll also have that one if you're going to do a full flow system. If you elect not to do that, then you just will have you can do, there's another way. There's another one that has two inlet and a return on your cover, and you can do that as well. And if you want to run an external oil cooler, you can run it with that. Hi there. Came over for a visit. Anyway, yeah, you can do that as well if you want to do it that way. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. We like the full flow and the return that way. It's kind of the more common way to do it today. And and some guys will put the oil filter that's right on here and not have the oil cooler. Those oil filters kind of get too close to the exhaust and don't work that well. So we stopped running those many years ago. So let's talk about the oil pump and the fit. What happens is a lot of them will be really loose. You'll go to put it on. This one feels pretty tight. You go to put it on and it's really loose here. When it's really loose like that, what happens is oil will bypass here or here, which is even worse. It'll bypass here into the crankcase, and what happens is, so sometimes you'll have an older engine where this has wallowed itself out, because it's an old case. That's why I like to put on these aluminum cases. And what will happen is, little by little, that oil will start to bypass here, and maybe you'll have low oil pressure when you first start it, and you've already replaced both of the springs in here. You have you have a spring and a piston that goes in here, and one on the other end on your case that has dual relief. So there's another one here just like this on the other end here, and you've already replaced those pistons, and you realize that you still don't have good oil pressure when you first start your engine. It might be because you have an issue with bypassing oil here. So what you do is you put this together like this, you check it up, you make sure that it's nice and tight. If it's not tight, then what you do is you can send this pump out and have it O-ringed. So they'll put an O-ring groove in the pump, and then it'll actually fit in the area snug, and then it'll stop that bypassing from happening. So that's one of the issues with oil pumps. Another thing that we've run into is on these oil pumps is see, this gear is pressed on. If you see the top one, this gear is actually pressed on the shaft, and this is a Shattuck pump. Okay, we've had a few of these, the 30 millimeter and the 26 millimeter. We're running a 26 millimeter. We feel like that's going to be plenty adequate for what we're doing. Some guys like to run the 30s, but you know, you'll see later on our build video, when we have that uploaded, you'll want to check that video as well. I'm going to have these all in a playlist so you guys can find them all at the same time. And so what you want to do is you want to do your modify your bearings a little bit to make sure that they meet up with the holes in your case 100% versus, there's some of them are only half. And when you have that, then you're going to have oil pressure a little lower. That's why some guys try to run a 30 to get it to go up a little higher to push through all those bearings. But we found that 26 is more than adequate if you do it the right way. So anyway, what we've had problems with is this shaft and this gear separating a little bit, and we've had this shaft spin and these gears be a little bit loose. So on this engine, what we're going to do is you have to be very careful, or maybe you can send it out to have this done, but we're actually going to TIG weld this shaft, the center of this shaft, to the gear, and then machine it smooth so that it doesn't wear into this piece. Okay, it has to be done properly. So because this needs to fit really tight, okay, it has tolerances in there and everything. So, but we are actually going to weld this middle piece right here to the gear, just a very small weld in there to make sure that it doesn't spin. We've seen several of them actually do that. So these are, building VW engines has some subject to stuff. There's a lot of little things like that to know, and these are kind of the things that if you want to do your own, you need to become an expert. After a while, you will. Maybe you'll make a few mistakes. Years ago when we used to build engines, you'd make a mistake and it was a $300 mistake, big deal. Now it's $4,000 mistake. So, it's a little more expensive than it used to be. So, it is a little bit of a learning curve. So, and there's no way that I could teach you, or any of us could teach you everything, in one video. So you're going to have to watch this stuff over and over and really kind of get the feel for it, and then take the plunge and take a risk. You don't know if it's going to work right or not. And sometimes you send it out and have it built somewhere, like some of those companies, guys are saying GEX has terrible engines. Maybe they just don't know this stuff. They're just building them. They don't know, or maybe they're not going to take the time to TIG weld that gear on. Some of these engine building companies, like CB Performance, I'm pretty sure that they are pretty versed on this stuff and know their stuff and do a pretty good job. But again, you're going to pay quite a bit for the engine. So not everybody can afford that. So when you do it yourself, you're going to have to try and, engineer some of this stuff on your own and make sure that it's right. Because this old technology, is old. It's not like the new stuff, and the parts quality is not like it was even 20 years ago. So anyway, that's a little bit about oil pumps. Talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.